Oh, I just gone live by mistake here. I am just making sure I kick off the uh, Facebook. Got this all mixed up here. So let me just kick this off here. Go live in Facebook. Welcome to the one-to-one thing. Funny start this time around. Didn't have my countdown. Got myself all mixed up in the game here. I am now live on Facebook as well. Join for those joining in Facebook. Welcome to the Virtual Cooler Live. Changed the name a little bit from the drop-in event to Water Cooler. I've been calling it Water Cooler for a while actually, so makes a lot more sense and just sort of really owning the branding as well. I hope you like the logo. Give me your thoughts and feedback on that as well. Welcome. Had a great chat last week. Really got interesting. Covered some areas which were, uh, I guess, a little bit more, I guess, topical. We went down sort of the politics and trying to put the world to rights in a sense, or at least bring up some of the ills that we're facing in this time. But again, this is a space where, for me, it's really a matter of learning and practicing how to show up efficiently and effectively for people, um, and also build those key skills with regards to being able to share and communicate. Uh, it's a big thing for me. But come join me. I'm here and normally go for an hour if I've got guests, sometimes a bit longer. But nonetheless, it's an opportunity just to kind of connect and chat. So um, while I've got while I'm just here by myself, just sharing some of the stuff that's been going on this week. Uh, Started the cohort for the 12-week program, shifting a little away from a bit away from the 12-week year name because I don't want to conflict with the book, but it does have a lot of the sort of the periodization elements of it, and it's the I call it the accountable action intensive. And those three names, those three terms really do sort of encapsulate what we want to cover in the 12-week cohort. Um, we want to have accountable actions, using the power of our cohort collective to be real, be transparent, be practical, and also the intensive component there is really the compressing of months into weeks. So excited for that. Paul's joining me here. Come on in, Paul. How are you, buddy?
Hey Steve, good to see you. Happy
Good.
Wednesday. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Awesome. Good to see you. How have you been?
I have been well. I've been well. Yeah, it was a good chat last week. Dr. Whiskey is in the house as well. Yeah, I've been well. I was just sharing that. Just kicked off the start of my next year, which is my 12-month, 12-week cycle, months into weeks. So
Yeah.
and looking forward to that. It's good.
Are you talking about how your period is going, Steve?
Say that again.
I said you're talking about how your period is going.
And my period is going. My periodization is going. Always one for a quip.
Well, I mean, you broke your calendar year up into 4 periods.
Yes, for yeah, yeah. So this is the fourth. I started in beginning of the year, so this is the fourth.
It's
Um,
not the record. I dated a woman who only had a period twice a year, so
oh
two
really?
periods. You have 4 periods, so
Okay.
I don't know if I want to know about that story.
I
yeah.
don't know. I
There's
don't
not
know
much more
whether
to the story. I mean, I kind of told you the whole story.
that would you,
Paul,
you have to expand on. You have to expand on. There's a double entendre there.
It's like we should make a. It's like Parkinson's law, but for conversation. My joke, my story has to expand to fill the whole conversation. Or you would. So to give everyone listening back story, Steve Wright was recently on my show, a couple of Nukes podcast, and we had a one-to-one thing on that podcast together. And I'm currently been making social media clips of it. I didn't so far. I've only took all the funniest moments into clips, but I will make serious moments that highlight Steve well in the future. But for now, I've gotten all the funny moments. Um, Starting with you could go on my Instagram now. I in the introduction of our episode, I snapped my fingers and my backdrop changes to a tropical island video. I thought that was really cool.
Hey,
So only I've never done that before. I was just like, but for Steve, for you, I would do it.
you wanted to be in Jamaica.
I want to liberate Jamaica even more than you did.
It's liberated already. It's independent for.
Yes, well, we celebrated its Independence Day together, and you told the story of how you by yourself liberated Jamaica.
There you
In fact,
go.
there's a social media clip about that on my Instagram right now. It's the last post I posted. Was
Don't be
it
sending.
says if you look at the image, Steve, it literally says how you liberated Jamaica. Like
Don't be
it's
don't be
clickbait.
don't be associated with fake news, please.
Fake news. Don't get me started.
We have enough work trying to discern what is true right now. So
Yeah, that is fair. Spirit of discernment. I just had a podcast episode, Spirit of Discernment, navigating false prophets. But shameless plug.
there you go. There you go.
No,
But
actually, my latest episode was with Steve.
So yeah, to answer your question, Paul. Yeah, I'm doing well. Excited for kicking off. Like I said, the new year.
The new year.
And the new intensive. So that's going well. Sort of shaping what we do and
You scared him off, Steve.
how we showed up. I don't know. It's got an audio, maybe a video glitch there. How's your week been? Dr. Whiskey?
So I've decided I might go back to university to get a doctoral degree in biblical study and become an official doctor. Right now, I'm only a doctor in India, but I might try to become a doctor in America as well. But it's one of those things where it's like, is there a doctor? And it's like, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, theology.
So you're actually a doctor in India. You have to expand on that. I didn't realize.
I'm not gonna expand on that. Yeah, that's where it came from, the Dr. Whiskey. Well, to give the full backstory, I was on a podcast in India, and for some reason they thought I was a doctor and introduced me as such. And so I've just kept those accolades when I'm on podcasts in India. So, I mean, I didn't want to correct them. I was scared to correct the lady. This is how she introduced me. Today we have Dr. Whiskey. He's a podcaster, author, speaker, a dog dad, and he spreads the word of God. That's how she introduced me. I was a little scared myself. I said, oh, man. So, I mean, I know I'm an Old Testament guy, but you didn't have to say it like I'm about to kill someone. She the way she said it, like she was trying to invoke fear in people. I mean, I was scared. I grabbed my dog and held her tight. I was like, you gotta. Like, hey, what are you saying? But no, my week's been good. I've been looking into becoming an official addiction recovery coach or certified specialist in addiction recovery. So, looking at the future with that, I've decided to write another book. So my list of books is just super long. Not much has happened this week. I found out some interesting stuff about my podcast. All the topics I cover are extremely competitive. So my show, it's kind of in that middle point where I have way more episodes than beginner shows, but not as many episodes as the 0.001%.
Yeah.
And so like I'm currently the #1 search result on Apple Podcasts, not for addiction recovery, not for suicide prevention, none of those big words, but for dark subjects. So for people who happen to type in dark subjects on Apple Podcasts, my show will show up. And I was like, I'll take it. Or if you look up pilot opportunities, because I had an episode about flying across the ocean one time. I am like number 29 or 26 in pilot stories.
Wow. Wow.
I don't know if you've ever looked into like your keyword rankings. It's some weird results. What is it? I'm also one of the top search results for sniper rifle marine stories. That was also just a one-time episode.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the algorithm's kind of latch on.
We'll have to. We'll have to catch up. We have to catch up off outside the water cooler to look at some of the analytics stuff because
Yeah,
it'd be
at the
interesting.
hockey
Not
team.
that I'm not necessarily driven by it, but it's
Well,
useful to
Steve, I could
know.
share something with you real quick. That's really interesting. Where is it? .com// reports. The stats are out for September, and I can tell you exactly how many podcasters quit every day and how many start every day. Where is it?
Oh wow.
Yeah, you and Paul conversate why I find this because I think everyone will find it really interesting,
Okay,
especially
that's
the
that's cool. Paul, how you been? What have you been up to?
I've been good. Can't complain. I've been playing a lot of pickleball lately. That's kind of been my
Your
big
your
thing.
gateway
Yeah.
introduction to
Well,
the to your demographic.
what's so well, I think we kind of talked about that story, right? How like I never played before,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like one of those things where if I'm working with people who social media is kind of like their new thing, and
Mm,
it was kind of just like a way to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but it's really kind of grown into not only like a family bonding thing, like
yeah.
now my uncle and my other cousin has been playing and things like that, but I think for me more than anything, because I'm such an analytical type of person, I can I don't do it as much, but like it's easy for me to like overthink and be in my head.
Mm,
And I think what pickleball really teaches you, because it's so fast, you don't have
it
time
is.
to think, and
Yeah.
it's a lot about just like trusting your instincts and
Yeah.
things like that. So it's been really interesting, and also just like it's been nice because it's even though I've been playing with a lot of people who've been playing for like over a year, and this is I would say probably like I'm in maybe my third month of actually playing. The first 3 months it was just me and my two cousins, and they were like making up the rules. You know how that
Yeah.
goes. So it's just been interesting, and it's the first time that I've had a hobby that for me it's like I was so used to competing. Like I played Madden. I was like one of the top 50 Madden players in the world before you could like make money playing. And
Wow.
then I played like trading card games where I went to like nationals, and I play like I'm not sure if you know what Hearthstone is, Steve, but it's kind
No.
of like a trading card thing. In
Okay.
that,
Did
I'm
you play
ranked in like
Magic?
the
Magic the
no, no,
Gathering?
not Magic. No. But in
I have
Hearthstone
like 32 decks. Don't mess with me.
yeah, in Hearthstone, I'm ranked in like the top like 0.01% of players in the world. So it's like I kind of wanted something where it wasn't about like winning and it's competitive. And pickleball is kind of just like my fun thing. And
Yeah.
whether I win or lose, like I'm usually always just pretty even keel. And
Yeah.
I just enjoy. It was kind of like an inner competition for me of like competing with myself, and my win just became if I could hit a shot or like do something that I couldn't the day before. I was like, oh, that's my win. I was playing against a guy last night who I guess he's like fairly new to pickleball, but a lot of people have played tennis for like
Yeah.
decades. And he was
Hmm.
like ripping, like he was just like ripping bullets at me, and I was like, "Holy cow!" I was returning them, but half the time I was like, "Darn, I could barely even see that thing." So
Mm,
it's just been interesting, just playing and growing. But I think the big thing for me, I guess, like the overall kind of lesson that's been showing up a lot has been this idea of like divine timing. And I think a lot of
mm,
times people get so caught up in I always used to say a lot of people get no mixed up with no, like
right.
they get no mixed up with KNOW, like people just don't
Mm.
know what you're
Yeah.
offering or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I think like timing is kind of just the same thing. It's been interesting as I've been taking more breaks than ever on social. There's like so many people that I've met from like doing events, even through like when I was doing Impossible Equals Impossible regularly, and all these things that I hadn't talked to in a while. And it's just kind of interesting, catching up with people. I had kind of tested an experiment, Steve. I don't know if I told you this story, but I
Mm,
was testing an experiment with my 82-year-old client. After they did away with the audio events, we had to kind of pivot and do video. And she thought that like her live video didn't fail or was like a failed experiment because only like a couple people showed up. But what was so funny was the one person that showed up was she actually needed what she offered, right? And that kind of goes back
Wow.
to the idea of, you know, the only number that I care about is one. So many people are so worried about like how many people are like, you know, watching their stuff or how many clicks or likes and stuff, but it really is about the
The
conversion.
one-to-one connection.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
just takes one
That's
person.
how we met. That's
Yeah.
how we met on your audios.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I think that's that's what it's always been for me, is that one person, because you never know like who people know, or because I entered the professional world when I was 16, I learned the other side of like, you don't know who people will become, because it's like and that's what's important to me. Like I look at the way that you treat people, and coming from the finance world, it was kind of like an odd way of thinking, because one of the things that I didn't like about that industry was people, if you had more money, like you were just treated differently, you know, like the rules were different and all that type of stuff. But you just never know like who people know or who they'll become. So it's been really interesting. Like there's been a lot of people lately who I've either like talked to, you know, 6 months or a year ago, and it wasn't like the right time, and you know they're coming back. And I think for me that's been kind of the thing that I've been realizing, is that a no doesn't mean like no. It's kind of like it really is.
Not yet.
Yeah, or like a maybe, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, the timing doesn't work out for people. And I always used to think, you know, that this idea of like ready was such a myth, but I actually do believe that there's a time where you kind of just know. I remember it was I can't remember if it was last year or if it might have been 2023, towards the end of 2023, but I remember like I've had the title of my book, The Greatest Detour, the University of Adversity, for like the longest time. I've had it for probably like 3-4 years, and it was really kind of like the University of Adversity is kind of just my metaphor for life, and how
Yeah.
I thought that, you know, everybody thinks like college and all this stuff is the big thing, but life's really like the ultimate school, and it's never ending. But I remember I sat down and I wrote that book in like a day. You know, I have the first draft and everything. I've kind of held off on putting it out just because for me, when I put it out, like I know I'm gonna do it differently than how other people sell books, and you know how people push stuff, and I'm just it just doesn't feel, you know, right for me right now, because I just see how so many people are using books as like a vanity thing. And I've been really focused, especially on this year, not so much on doing so many things, but more about like being intentional and doing things that um have meaning, and focusing on quality versus quantity. Because I've my first couple years as an entrepreneur was that, you know, I was going to all these events, I was doing this, I was doing that, taking like so many meetings, and eventually I think that's why people get burnt out, is because I remember I went to an event and Tom Brady was one of the speakers, and he said, you know, he's like, I think it's so important for people to realize that like we're human beings, not like human doings. And he's like, so many people get so caught up in the doing that they're not actually like being in their experience. And that really kind of hit home for me, because it's just like that's what happens, you know, like that's why time like passes you by. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I've been up to.
No, that's
I
cool.
think one of the things you mentioned that I have gotten to experience, and Steve, I don't know if you've experienced this, but like, uh, you know, I'm reaching the point where some of the guests that were on my show, it's been a year or more, and I've gone back to their websites that when I first recorded with them, I mean, they were just starting their brand, or their website was, to put it nicely, not the best. And I've gone back and I've seen the complete rehaul, or the brand development, and it's been really interesting to see how much some of these people have grown, myself included, my website now compared to where it was. And I really like what you said about you never know where someone's going to be, or where you know, their brand or company is going to turn to. And I've had people that like I said, I've gone back and it's just like mind blowing Some of them are publishing another book. And I always tell people, like, when I have people on the show, I always say, like, hey, I know you're figuring out your whole coaching practice and branding right now. Because I've had people who are like, hey, I just launched this a few days ago. Like, I am just putting this together. I always say, when you are at a point that you really like and you want to start pushing more, come back on the show and talk about that growth process and what you kind of went through. Like, Steve, I'm sure you've changed your logo a time or two before. You've rehauled
Yeah.
your website or your descriptions for stuff. And I think also, just like, you never know who knows someone else. And I've had the best example I like to give is Kimberly Spencer. She's one of the top female entrepreneurs and podcasters in the world. She's like a 7-figure woman. She's 6 figures, going on 7 figures, or somewhere around that area, right? And she's a mom, a homeschool mom, and she runs this huge empire of podcasting and books and all this stuff. And she came on my show when it first came out. I had like 0 audience. I had it was my first time going to video. I had been audio only, but she came on my show, and from her point of view, or from my point of view, she had no reason to, right? I mean, what, she's going to reach maybe like 3 people on my show at that time. But fast forward, she has, her son was 4, 5, or 6, and he was like, Mom, I really want to start a podcast interviewing astronauts. I go to a voice acting conference. I meet a woman who's in charge of training all the astronauts for NASA. So I connect her back to Miss Spencer for her son. And, I don't know if there was a follow through, right? But the point is, just looking at that story, this woman who had so much money and a successful podcast came on my show, which was brand new, had like nothing, really of no value to her. Then to circle back around, if that woman followed through, now her son has a podcast interviewing NASA's astronauts. I mean, that's like the kind of connection I would have never seen coming, right? But I think she understood that, like, no podcast is too small, or no audience is too small, no host is too, small of a network, because you never know who's going to know someone. Like, the reason I even met Steve and a couple of the guests on my show that I've met through Steve was through a connection of a connection. So I think, like Paul said, talking about finances, I had a guy on the show the other day who started a podcast and stuff, and he goes, it was easier for him. He goes, in finances, you always had the longest term view. You're thinking of retirement, you're thinking of this, of that, of investing, all this stuff. He goes, podcasting, you got to be the same way. And Steve and I have talked about lifelong learning and marathon mentality, evergreen content. And I said, well, most people, to keep the finances analogy, they look at podcasting like day trading. I've had people come on my show who had started a podcast and ended the podcast a few weeks later or before their episode was released, because they were looking at day trading. The amount of people who said, during COVID, I started a podcast to make money. Let me share some of these stats just to compound on that. So, like, this report is for non-celebrity, independent interview-based podcasters with 100 plus episodes and a release cadence of 10 days or less. So Steve and I's show fit right into this, right? And out of 2,850,527, so that's how many fit that category. Only 382,039 are active, right? So most podcasts aren't even active. Only 13.4% of those podcasts are actually active. So like Steve and I said, consistency wins in that alone.
Yeah.
And then looking specifically, and that's the podcasting industry totals. So looking specifically at independent interview-based podcasters, out of 581,108, only 119,665. So 20.5% are active. And the new percentages are out. This is the big one. Steve, Paul, I want you to guess, how many podcasters do you think quit every single day on average?
I've got no
Most of them.
As a percentage, or
as a number.
Oh, I wouldn't know I wouldn't even know what the numbers would be.
655 podcasters quit on average daily.
How many?
And that comes from the fact that only 34, or this is actually an improvement. You have a 30, I don't know, never mind. If you want to make it to 8 episodes, the chance of reaching that milestone is 36% of people actually make it to 8 episodes.
Wow.
10% make it to 50 episodes. 5% make it to 100.
Yeah.
3% make it to 200. 1.94, so about 2% make it to 300.
Yeah.
So Steve and I are in that.
I'm in that.
Well, I'm in
I'm
that
the top-
3% going on 2%.
Yeah,
You're
I mean
you're around that
the top-
5%.
Yeah, I'm just under 100. So,
Yeah.
published anyway. So yeah, that's. I knew I knew it was, it's like spitting in the ocean, right? In terms of,
Yeah.
you feel that sentiment of,
Most people quit after about 42 days. But some people, it depends on how much they release their
Cadence.
episodes. But like I said, so many people think it's a get rich quick scheme, because look, there are people who are making a couple grand or more a month. But like I said, I think I shared it in a previous episode of the Water Cooler, 0.001% of like podcasting make up like 75% of all the income. You know, like look at this. There are about an estimated almost 5 million people who want to be a guest on a podcast. And there are only about 98,000 podcasts looking for guests. So what that means is, if you divide it evenly, which obviously it's not, but that would be 47 people reaching out every day per podcast. Now, I don't get 47. I get a good handful.
Yeah.
You know, it really depends, but it's just insane. And like looking at the stats, like you're in the top 50% of all podcasters if your episode gets 27 downloads within the first week. You're in the top 1% if you get 4,140 within the first 7 days. So it's really interesting looking at this. I think people don't realize like this, and that the let's see.
I mean the big takeaway from all the stats is consistency.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that more people want to be on a podcast than there are podcasts for them to be on.
Yeah.
I think I want to lean more into the opportunity to give people a space to talk on a podcast. I think there's people who've got gold in their stories. They've been to the University of Adversity, to coin Paul's.
But most of those
phrase.
guests who are seeking to be on a podcast, I would say 85% are just authors looking to promote their book, or someone trying to promote a course or a program. I would say that remaining 15%, if I can do math,
15.
That's people like what you're looking for, to have that one-to-one thing connection and share an actual story. You know, most people, their motives are to push a product, and that's not to say they don't have a good story along the way too. But most people are looking to push something. And you know, I don't know if you've dealt with this, Steve, but like some of the emails I've gotten, I'm like, hey, you're honestly just pushing a promotion for something. Like, if you're going to promote something on my show, this isn't a commercial, right? You really have to have a story. And sometimes they'll put a sentence or two so you think they have a story, and then you get them on the show and it's like, you know, nothing. And I've had some people straight up lie to me. I mean, twisted truth. Like, the worst story, I was real mad. I had a woman who was going to come on the show to speak to the military spousal audience. And for me, that was really important. I have a lot of veterans on the show. I have a lot of active duty, but not the family. How can we take care of those wives and those husbands who are at home while people on deployment? So she says, this is her media kit. I was kidnapped at 2 years old. What? Or something like that. And then fast forward, I gave birth to twins as my husband was deployed overseas. And I was all alone, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, this is a story I want to hear. I dealt with burnout and trauma. She comes on the show. And let me tell you the kidnap story. My mom won custody against my dad in court, and I wasn't allowed to see him. Whoa. That is not kidnapping. That is a totally different thing. And honestly, right then and there, I was going to shut the episode down. I was fuming with Steam, because I was like, your whole media kit is clickbait then. That's not kidnapping. Now, in her defense, she said, oh, well, my mom lied about my dad. And so the reason I was withheld from him was wrong. I was like, that's still not kidnapping. Kidnapping is forcibly against your will, right? This was a court order. So I was already so mad, Steve. And then we get to the story. I said, "There's still redemption. Tell us about giving birth to the twins. Your husband's overseas." "Yeah, the husband's overseas, but I got to FaceTime him every day." So I'm starting to get even angrier, Steve. He was only gone for about a year. I'm getting mad. She goes, "It was hard though, because even though my parents moved in and I had a personal nanny, I had to spend at least one night away each week for my kids." I was a I was so livid. You could not believe how mad I was, Steve. I was like shaking. I was so mad. I was like, this I said this episode was tailored to military spouses. Military spouses, let me fill you in. Most of them are young women who are 17, 18, or 19. They're staying at home crocheting, watching TikToks, right? And their husband is overseas and they get no phone call. They're probably pregnant most likely, and they gotta raise a kid by themselves. They don't want to hear about you had parents who moved in and helped you. You had a personal nanny and you could FaceTime your husband. I said, honestly, this is the most I was just living. And I realized that some people's media kits are, I wouldn't even call it a white lie. I would just call it a straight up lie at that point. So I don't know if you get email pitches like that or you've had some kind of experience. I had a guy show up, didn't know the name of the show.
I mean, my stuff is very organic. I reach out. It's stuff in my space. It's personal networking, people I've met in person. I'd like to do some more face-to-face interviews, which would be fun. I've got people in my physical environment, physical surroundings that it'd be nice to. A bit more work, I think, than just jumping on. You go home, I go home, we jump on our respective platforms, and we do it through Riverside, Vstream, Link, Zoom, whatever.
I have a solution for you, Steve. I like the new the SA Right, not Saw Right, the SA Right coaching, the new logo you got.
Yeah, thank you.
You get a hoodie of that color with it on the front or the back, and have a QR code for people to when they scan it, it takes them to the managers who lead.
Boom.
So when you're walking around, people are like, SA Right coaching, the virtual oracle, what's this? And you say, well, it's this virtual event everyone's. I think that would be a good for. I know you like to go to the streets of London at night to the different clubs and McDonald's and stuff, and people. You get people.
That was so long ago. That was who I was.
That's
not who I'm becoming.
That was 50 4 12-week years ago.
Don't even work out the math on that. You're so off point. I do thank you thanks for the nod for the new logo. These are your seeds.
No, I like it. I like
using
the color
that branding. Shout out to Adina Wright Design.
Hey, that's the favorite daughter. You said that in my episode.
Oh, stop! I didn't say she was the favorite dauter. So please don't take that personally. Anyone who knows me and Adina, don't relay that to her.
I have it in transcript on Apple Podcasts.
They're both special people. But yeah, so I mean, there's some things there. I'm sort of tying the connections between some of the things you said. I wanted to. Pickleball is a great sport, by the way. I want to come back to that. I didn't really. You shared your newfound passion for it. I played a lot of it in California, and it's a great game. It's a great game. I love racket sports, except racquetball. I never did like racquetball. The bat was too short handled. I love squash. I love badminton. Love tennis. I love ping pong, table tennis.
I was president.
Pickleball was right in that spot. Sorry.
I was president and founder of the badminton club at my high school. So Steve, we could have a little competition sometime, and we could do some fundraising.
Well, if you as long as you play badminton better than you jump rope, then we should be all right.
Hey. Steve,
don't take that personally.
I dare you to jump rope in a cowboy hat. Isn't
that was impressive. That was impressive. That's a lot.
I was watching the World
clearance
Championship of jump roping the other day, and I was like, they've got Steve and I beat. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, but
there's levels to it for sure.
There is definitely levels to it.
But how was your midnight Pilates, Steve? The other night you did some midnight Pilates. How did that go?
Midnight Pilates.
Yeah.
Oh, after we talked.
Yeah, you were doing Pilates, and it was like midnight your time.
Yeah. Well, it's
You were
more.
wearing track pants. I remember clearly.
It was more some hip flexor stretching routines. Um, so I'm having hip issues. So it's something
Mhm.
that's definitely something that I need to sort of do more physio, and
Mhm.
Pilates was suggested as a class to go to, but I've got resistance bands and some things in the house
I
that
don't
really
know.
help.
The hip injury with the prowling in the streets of London, they don't go together pretty well.
No, they don't.
I
Steve,
think
if you
I
have
have some questions for you.
if you have like a foam roller or something, that's probably like one of the best things because
Yeah.
when when I play pickleball, like I'm left-handed and pretty much
Mm,
like everybody else is right-handed. So in order for me to like hit the ball, I
yeah.
have to like position myself and I actually kind of like strained my hip. So like I was the hip flexor IT band area
Hmm.
is like and you know it connects it's hard to like tell it's that because it's so connected to like your leg and there's so many you know different
Yeah.
muscles and stuff in there but I found like a tennis ball or a foam
Yeah.
roller
Yeah.
was really helpful to kind of loosen it up and like
Yeah.
stretch and all that type of stuff.
I have a yeah. I mean, yeah. The not so much lower back, but hips have been
Mhm.
hip has been a perennial issue for me.
It
It's
could be your shoes too, like because that's the other thing that I find with a lot of people is like if you have like a cushion or shoes that have like really good grip, it'll kind of help you so you don't have to like it gives you like some type of support.
yeah, yeah.
It could be
So
that God crippled your sciatic nerve like he did to Jacob in Genesis 32. But
I'm glad I don't have sciatica, or I know Don Gleason suffered with that for a spell, or experienced it for a
and
spell,
now
and
he's just hiking all
that's
of
no fun.
America, one state at a time.
Yeah.
He's out birding with his wife right now as we speak.
Oh wow, that's so cool. That's so cool. Well,
That is cool.
best of luck to you, Don. But yeah, so yeah, pickleball is a a great sport. And then just some of the things we just talked about in terms of, I like what you said about you know, no and no, KNOW, um, because sometimes we we miss the opportunity to get to know somebody and realize the longevity of building a relationship, you know, lifetime value. You know, we do talk about in terms of customer terms, but there's a lifetime value in terms of relationships and friendships. And like you never know how things are going to come around and connect, um, in ways that you couldn't have orchestrated if you were setting out to do it. um, and then
100%.
having that trust and that faith that, you know what, if you put good stuff out, it's bound to come back. I mean, it just, you know, the word doesn't come back empty, and nor does our good intentions. um, you know, even if it feels like it takes a while, or you feel like you're maligned by people, or people take advantage of it, but ultimately, you know, staying on that course and staying true to that course is genuinely going to serve you well.
I was
And
in a
even in the
book on that.
practicalities of being a podcaster, um, you know, start for the right reasons. I think, you know, be true to your reasons for starting. And if you're testing, test. That's fine. You can, I I I committed to I committed to 10 episodes when I started. And once I started, it was like, um, I guess 50. 50 was kind of a milestone, and then, but between 10 and 50, it became something that I didn't see an end to. You know, in terms of, I was comfortable with the workflow and the process. Switch from audio to video, you know, since single, um, just me chatting versus guests. And you know, I'm happy with the cadence and I feel comfortable in it. And people out there who want to sort of, um, try it out, you know, there's people in my network, people in Dr. Whiskey's network. We got, mutual friend Will Otero,
Yeah.
Yayoi Komiyama,
Well,
That's,
and what I'll say is the thing they say about this industry is it takes about 20 episodes minimum to kind of figure out your style and where you're going and what you're doing. So don't expect like your first episode. Like shoot, if you go back and listen to my first episode compared to now, like it's a big difference. And I'm sure Steve with the same.
yeah.
You grow a lot as a person as you podcast, and I think to Steve's point, like when I first started, I was so focused on the numbers. Like you said, you had the 10 and then the 50, but
Mm.
after 100, I kind of was like, who cares at this point? I stopped counting. Like same with reviews and stuff. Like I used to have nightmares about getting bad reviews on my podcast. Like I had a nightmare someone give me a half-star review, or a nasty review. Like I used to focus so much on that, and now I don't worry
Yeah.
about it because I think, like Steve will agree, it becomes a passionate craft. You need to go into this not as a business, unless that's really your goal, is to funnel back clients and to add to a pre-existing business. But yeah, I think you really, if you want to avoid burnout, it's a lot. On average, it's about 5 hours per episode to produce it, to record it, to edit it, to set everything up. You really have to have a passion for it. You have to really enjoy the conversations, and I'm sure Steve can agree to this, and even Paul on some of the work that he does. There are going to be days where you have a meeting scheduled and you wake up and you're like, I really don't feel like doing this today. Like I don't. My social battery is low today, or I have a headache. I was recording yesterday. I was recording episodes when I had pneumonia and 102 fever. I had to wear a cowboy hat and a sweater. I mean, it's not easy sometimes. Um, and there are days where you have guests where um, it's like pulling teeth sometimes, and then
Mm.
sometimes you just have an episode that leaves you. You're like, wow, and you meet some really interesting people. I recorded yesterday. Steve, I don't know if this is Paul. You probably know what this is, Steve. I don't know if they have it over there in Britain. It's called Charlie Brown, the Peanuts cartoon and
Yeah.
TV
Yeah.
series.
Oh
I-
yeah, I grew
yeah,
up with
Peanuts,
Charlie Brown.
Snoopy. Yeah.
Yeah. The Sally, you know her. She's the one who pulls the football away. She was on
Yeah.
my show yesterday. The voice actor for her.
Oh, wow.
She was on my show yesterday recording about being pushed into addiction and some of the
Wow.
evilness of Hollywood and stuff like that. And it was really neat. Obviously she doesn't sound like Sally now. I mean, she's
Right.
63, so very beautiful woman and very beautiful heart too. I mean, she was very passionate and energetic. But it's like growing up when my dad put that on. Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and Christmas. I would have never expected to meet Sally. Through podcasting. I mean, I've had America's #1 survivalist on my show. It's like you meet some interesting people, and now, like Steve, I would have never guessed that a Jamaican British man was going to be the best man at my wedding when I was growing up. I never guessed that. And
I would have never guessed that. I'm waiting for the. I tell you, send me that invite, bro.
yeah. Well, so next week she couldn't make it today, but next week my girlfriend will be joining the Restream event because I'm jealous, is going to London for quite a while. And I said, you ought to meet up with Steve Wright and get a selfie
Yes.
with him.
If she's in London,
I said he
I'm
can
going
tell
to
you
see
he can tell you the local spots. And she's like, well, let me go to a few restreams first, so it's not like just this strange guy showing up at the bar. But I said, I'm really envious that you're gonna get to meet my friend of over a year in person before I do.
So you
It's
gotta
weird.
you gotta rewind this because you just dropped on my LinkedIn live the G word. You
Yeah.
have a
Yeah,
It's not an AI girlfriend, is it?
oh
Wait, what did you say?
I said it's not an AI girlfriend, is it? Because I know you were talking about that.
No. She'd be on a restream right now then. Now, so I told Steve when I went to Japan, they have a vending machine with pictures of women inside of it. And there's different prices. I don't know, it's in yen, so I just, you just spend it. It said like 800,000 yen. And I was like, that sounds like $8 or something. You just put it in. And, no. The most expensive thing I got in Japan was the jacket, which I've showed off before. But no, Paul almost met my girlfriend on Saturday, but he never responded to my last text inviting him to hang out. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, he sends me a message. I think it's like a day, maybe like not even like 24 hours, or maybe it was like a day before. But my weekend was like pretty much planned. So I told him, I was like, oh, I kind of need a
The
little bit of.
message was prefaced with an apology. It said, "Paul, I'm so sorry. I meant to talk to you Wednesday after the restream about this, but I got busy. But I'd like to see you this Saturday."
Yeah, but and that's what I said. I had
And he said, "I might be busy. I'll let you know." And I reached out to him on Saturday. I said, "Hey, what's going on for tonight? Please let me know if you're gonna make it or not." And then he just never opened it. And I said, "Paul really does hate me.
Oh,
It's because
s-
if
you-
I was 80 years old, he would have gone. It's because
to
I'm too
be
young. I don't meet his demographic. Look at me.
to be fair, I will say like Facebook is probably like my least utilized social
I
media.
knew I
Like I
could
just
message you on LinkedIn. Son.
yeah,
Well, you don't
LinkedIn's
have
like
Instagram, so I was like, I have to use Facebook.
I have an Instagram. I just don't use it much.
I just don't
But like
follow.
Facebook
Yeah,
and
that's what he
Instagram
was
are
trying to do.
Facebook and Instagram are kind of like connected anyway, so it's like those two I don't really use.
Mm.
I just feel like I call like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok like the unholy trinity because it's all about like vanity, and I just don't align
Well,
with
you
a
need to
lot
throw
of
X
the.
in there. You got to throw X.
Yeah.
What's, I
Yeah.
don't
Well,
know.
I don't use X, so that's like the one that.
Actually, Instagram is really bad, but some of the stuff I've seen on X is sometimes even worse. That's
Yeah.
all I'll say.
So
But
bring this
it's all
back
right,
to the
Paul.
G word. So Paul almost met her.
Yeah.
You have one. That's not
Yeah.
AI.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I don't like it. No, so I was engaged for several years. Don Gleason actually talked to my ex fiance, tried to help her out with career stuff. We didn't work out, and then my girlfriend and I that I have now, I just wasn't ready, and even I told her I was like I don't know if I could ever propose again. I was left at the altar twice, so working through some past heartbreak, but I think if Steve's got his daughter's mom all meeting up in Jamaica, and I was like, I need to have that as one of my 12-week goals. So in 12 weeks, I need to have a kid, a wife, and a mom, and pick out a flight to Jamaica. So we'll see. I'm on a crunch here. I'm
That's a
getting
real
time
crunch.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
anyway, I invited her today, and then she just got busy. So she said next week. So we're gonna hold her accountable. I'm
For
gonna break
sure.
up with her if she doesn't show up next week.
Oh,
She
you
said she's
calling
gonna
her out
show
li-
up.
calling
It's
her,
an
calling her out on a
ultimatum.
live like that.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
yeah,
but
we would. I mean, even if we do a sort of our own sort of connection, it'd be great to get an introduction. Anyone
I want her on the
that's
live so I can put pressure on her because she's a nationally recognized and award-winning artist on Filipino American culture. But she gets all shy and humble about it and never talks
wow.
about it. And so when I introduced her as that, she's just like,
American Filipino, is that her heritage? Is that for
so she's
just for
full
interest?
Filipino, but she was born in America. But her
Okay.
parents have. So her whole artwork explores how she feels so disconnected from the Filipino culture, even though her parents speak in Tagalog and her coworkers speak in Tagalog who came from the Philippines. She felt really disconnected growing up in America, and her artwork explores like that kind of identity in like being American and being Filipino at the same time, and it's kind of universally applicable to whatever your ethnicity and culture is. And
Yeah.
I think it's really neat, but she's like most artists, she's very shy about it. So
Mm.
my plan was when she comes on the restream, I'm gonna introduce her as that. I won't even say it. Steve, you say you must be that nationally recognized artist that
No,
Mr.
I
was
would
talking
just.
about. And she's just gonna look over at me like.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
but she doesn't know
fantastic.
who you are because I showed her a video of you and I talking, and I changed the background to Jamaica.
Oh,
She was
okay.
like,
Okay. She was impressed with that finger clicking, that
"Yeah,
kind
I
of
haven't showed her the
Thanos
picture of you
snap.
with your trilby hat."
Mm.
Yeah, so that might convince her.
There you go. There you go.
That's
So
awesome.
that
I'm
is
happy
well.
for you.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Dr.
thank you.
Whiskey.
It's
And
it's nice because for me, um, I've learned a lot, and I plan on writing a book or doing a in-depth episode about relationship stuff because like a lot of people in my generation, like I had an episode yesterday where I was talking about the societal expectation. It's kind of like when you're young, people are like, why are you single? You should be getting out there, blah, blah, blah. When you're old, it's like, why are you single? Your time's running out, right? It's like, so there's this constant societal expectation to be in a relationship. And a lot of people from my generation, a lot of relationships I've been in, the women I was with, and even myself included, we hadn't developed that self love. At least us who came from traumatic backgrounds and family upbringings or were in abusive relationships before, we were never given the time to develop that self love and identity and really grow as a person. You know, I've talked to you before about the age of exposure to pornographic and sexual content is 8 to 9 years old. And between that and the societal expectation, people are getting into relationships in seventh grade, eighth grade, high school. And I mean, I was part of that demographic, not the pornographic exposure, but wanting to date in seventh grade, eighth grade, and high school. And at the time, like looking back now, even just in my 20s, I'm like, man, no one should be dating in high school. Like, I don't know. I just realized like we really aren't developed, and even now, like with college and everything, I like it's such a transitioning point of our lives. But
Yeah.
this societal pressure, what it causes, and I saw it with military men, I saw it with people in high school, I saw it with college people. This societal pressure and this stigma that like if you're single, you're wrong, or it's bad, or
Hmm.
there's something unlovable about you. So many people just continually lowered their standards looking for a partner not out of love and alignment but just to not be alone, and I fell into that where each relationship that failed, it just pushed me to lower my standards even more.
Yeah.
And a lot of the relationships I was in that didn't work out, we weren't aligned politically, financially, morally, all those big topics. And I am a love conquers everything, but I realized that like alignment is so much more
Hmm.
important. And the girlfriend I have now, this is the first time that I've actually been fully aligned with someone where we agree politically, spiritually, you know, with work and with the future goals. And
Yeah.
this is the first relationship where I've actually felt a peace. You know, it's
Hmm.
like it's almost uncanny. You know, it feels wrong sometimes.
It's
And
equally
I,
yoking. It's equally yoking too. I mean, that's
yeah,
you've got to be yoked.
yeah.
You've got to be.
Well,
You've got to have that
and I
yoke
was in a lot of
nurturing.
one-way relationships. And being with someone who doesn't love themselves and they want you to love them for them. Like I love my ex fiance. Don't get me wrong; she's not a bad person, but like I remember one of the big tips we had was she was like, "You need to compliment me more" because of her self esteem issues, and I was complimenting her 5 to 6 times a conversation, you know, and it's like one is lost its value, two is lost like its meaning for me. Like I'm just saying it now to say it for her sake rather than me meaning it, and it's
Mm.
like I can tell you you're pretty and beautiful and all this stuff constantly, but if you don't believe it yourself, like constant reassurance is good to a degree, but if it's such a temporary fix that fades so fast, it really isn't. Like you need a permanent fix, which maybe it's going to the gym if you're unhappy with where your weight is at, either underweight or overweight, or maybe it's it's really, I don't even want to say like getting a haircut or changing your clothing style because those are all at the end of the day shallow surface things.
Mm.
That confidence really needs to develop in different ways from
Yeah.
within, and it's like I don't know. I think it's a shame. I really regret from what I've seen and what I've seen a lot of young men and women do is they prioritize not being alone over being in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And we have huge divorce rates. We have a lot of unplanned pregnancies. We have a lot of domestic violence, sexual assault. I'll be in Arizona this week. I'm seeing a conference for a book launch talking about domestic violence and sexual assault in relationships. And a lot of thing that has trapped people in relationships like that. Two main reasons: either finances
Yeah.
or not wanting to be alone, not wanting to lose what you already have, rather than giving up something that's unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's you could touch on a lot of stuff there. One of the things I wrote it down here. Adultizing. We adultize kids.
Yeah.
As someone who's got adult children now, um, and both my wife and I's parenting isn't necessarily perfect. But looking at where they are now and how they're functioning and operating as adults, and looking back over the period they were in our care and our responsibility and nurturing, one of the things was trying to keep them, as kid aligned as possible to their age, and not necessarily.
And here's a parent expert right here, Justin Workman.
Yeah,
He did
he's
that
got
episode
multi
on
generations
the
behind him.
podcast.
This one.
Are we there
Good
yet?
to see,
Parenting with
you,
Jeff.
Justin. But the adultizing of children, I saw it first from when commercials, before toy commercials used to be aimed at the parents growing up. TV commercials typically were, parents, here's how you occupy your kids, and these are things that are good for your kids, because the advertisers were looking at the people who could pay. And then there was a shift from the
Kids are the
the
consumers.
parent to the child. And I guess the psychology was, if you get the kid riled up enough about your product, they will pester the parents to get it. And then it became, and then, I mean, it's kind of clever, sneaky, and clever. And then it got to the point where you had, the I guess the Barbie doll, or you're making kids into little adults. So whether it's the makeup, the fashion, the hairstyle, the pageants, especially in the States,
Apps.
you're driven
Yeah.
that way. And to your point about, I mean, that's one thing it's kind of cute to have, it's kind of, you're performing, you're in performing arts, for example, and you're dressed up to perform. But then that's a very fine line between dressed up to look like an adult when you're only 6, 7, 8 years old, and then having these social dynamics whereby you're going to middle school and there's a crush, someone likes you in the playground, to turning that into, oh, we're exclusive. My kids had friends that they liked more than others in a certain way, but neither of the girls had serious boyfriends in high school.
Well, and you mentioned something that really pisses me off is like I've seen 9-year-old girls wearing makeup, not for events. Like to your point, if it's for a school event or a play or something, that's fine if they're a dancer. These are just 9-year-old girls wearing makeup to be, I don't even want to say this, to be attractive, but that's what it was for, right? Or to feel beautiful. But it's like seeing that, or seeing these parents who let their 9-year-old daughter or their 14-year-old daughter wear a skirt where their parts are out and visible. Like that to me just blows my mind, how you could let your daughter wear that. Like even some high schoolers dress so inappropriately. And I think even worse than commercials, Steve, or you look at shows like shows where high schoolers are being played by adults and portrayed as adults. Like I've never seen High School Musical, so I can't say like an example, but like think of that kind of stuff.
But Zac Efron was an adult when he played that role.
Yeah,
100%.
and it's like they portray them as like as adults. You even look at like the superhero industry, right? You have these high school kids with powers who are doing very adult stuff and are growing up so young. And I think look at prom night. Like a lot of people glamorize this idea of losing their virginity on prom night or having sex on prom night. And so that how do you do that? That pushes those kinds of relationships sooner as well.
Mhm.
In my opinion, I don't know if they have prom in Britain.
They
Like a high school
yes,
dance.
I think that they're trying to bring some of that over. Certain high schools have their events. I've seen limos and high schoolers, probably more with university. If you're graduating, the graduate ceremony tends to be a very much more flowy, dressy.
Okay.
But then at that age, if you're finishing your undergraduate degree, you're an adult by all means,
More or
all
less.
sense and purposes. But you have an event there. Justin, how are you, buddy?
Good.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. You missed. I don't know if you were listening in. If you got all the stats about podcasting.
No, yeah.
No, I just dropped in.
Oh.
Just
Well, basically, there's no hope for you to have a podcast. No. Uh,
Oh, good.
no, we were talking about
I'm off
it's
the hook.
a lot of you have to go into it with the right intentions and mindset, and I think knowing these statistics uphand allows you to plan more strategically and more realistically. But I mean, Justin, you're a parent. You actually guested on my show about parenting, teaching faith with depth. Great episode, by the way, one of my most popular episodes. What are your thoughts about like the pre-context to this was I was talking about the societal expectation and push for like villainizing singleness. So if you're a bachelor, if you're single in high school as a young adult in your 20s, it's like, why aren't you getting out there? If you're single in your middle age, dude, your time's running out. Women, your biological clock's running out. Why don't you have how are you going to get married? You're going to be old, right? So no matter where you are at life, it's kind of like villainized if you're single. So I talked about how because of that, a lot of young adults get into relationships without first loving themselves, without first understanding themselves. They get into abusive relationships or lower their standards just to meet that quota of I'm in a relationship. I'm not single. And there was a point in my life where I was never single, where as soon as a relationship was over, a few days later, I was in a new one. And, I was still getting over the past relationship in the new one, but I didn't want to be single. I went on a date with a girl and she said, by the way, I have a boyfriend. I hope you don't mind. He's moving in a month. And I just want to get him ready
I'm
now.
preparing for
Yeah.
that.
And then when I tried to take her out on another
Yes.
date, she said, why are you trying to take me out on a date? I have a boyfriend. You got to wait till he moves. And then she moved away with him.
No reflection on you, Mr. Whiskey.
Yeah, we're just gonna pretend that we didn't hear that you wanted to willingly date somebody who had another
Well,
partner.
because she said she was breaking up with him, and then it's like, no, I know. I should have been like, what the heck? I should have left when she first said it. But she said it after the first date. She was like, by the way, I know we just went on a date. I have a boyfriend. I hope you don't mind. And I was like, you're cheating on him. She's like, well, he's moving him on. She said, he's not really a boyfriend. He's just a title placeholder because I don't want to be single. So she
Wow.
made it sound like
Pressure.
if you and I go on a date, we start dating, I'm just going to get rid of him. Which obviously you shouldn't want to be with a woman like that, because then what happens if I'm going to move or something? It's like,
I don't know.
You gotta
Maybe
be okay with yourself. You got to
Well,
be okay with
yeah.
yourself first. Anyway,
I think that's
Yes,
true. I think that's true.
or date
But
with
I
that
also
Waffle
think there's a
House,
big
so if that tells you anything.
there's a quality issue there maybe. I think commitment is missing though. And I think maybe the goal of the relationship isn't the same thing that you're talking about necessarily. I mean, like people that have serial relationships like you're talking about, they don't have a goal of commitment. And why are you in a relationship if long-term commitment is not your goal, right? What are you doing? You know, you're having all these different relationships, but they don't.
Mm.
What's the purpose? If long-term commitment is not the goal, which I assume is the case because of the serial nature of these relationships, then why are you in them in the first place? If you're going to get in a relationship, be prepared for commitment,
Yeah.
right? Be prepared for long-term commitment. Otherwise,
Well, again, we're just
wait
looking for
until,
that
like Steve
placeholder
said, until
title.
you're
It's
ready.
just like a status, and it's.
Well, status is, I mean, people shouldn't be concerned
I
about
know, I
status in the
agree.
first place under any circumstance, no matter what, whether we're talking about relationships or money or anything. I mean, people do, obviously, people get concerned about it. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm, immune to that, but it's definitely not a pursuit. Pursuing status of any kind is fruitless and
I think a lot of
vanity.
a lot of it
All is
too, though,
vanity.
is just like, I mean, the common theme is just intention. And even as I was listening, about how like Dr. Whiskey was saying that he's been like blindsided with some of his guests or whatever it is. I mean, maybe it's just me, and like the first thing that I do is ask the difficult questions, because it's like if you can't ask that from the get go, it's almost kind of like, people are like kind of wasting their time, like you're gonna do this. Whereas like for me, I'm more of a, I want to kind of know everything and just have all the information to make a decision type of thing. But I remember, and I say this as like in a lot of communities and stuff, I was like one of the only single people, because a lot of people were either like married or, they had long-term partners or whatever. I always used to tell people like being single is only a bad thing if you don't love yourself. And it's like, if you look at a lot of relationships, like even if you're married, like you're always going to be your most important relationship because you're the constant. Like you're always with yourself all the time,
Mm.
and it's like that. I guess kind of there's a lot of like codependency aspect to it, right? And this can go in multiple ways, whether you want to look at it from the career perspective, from the relationship perspective, from the technology perspective. And it goes back to like one of the things that's been really important to me over the past 2 years, which is like training yourself to trust and think for yourself, and having like not just like a vision, but having your own sense of direction and what's important to you. Because what happens a lot, like for me, I'm a very like deep, and like the mental stimulation is more important to me. I meet so many people that are like physically attractive, and you have a conversation and I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work, and it's just, I mean that's it, like but that's like how quickly I think that's the problem for a lot of people, is that
Yeah.
they really have no sense of direction. One of dear mentors of mine, and he's become like a really good friend. I actually got to meet him in person a couple of days ago. Made a 1 year anniversary. He's the only Olympic gold medalist in his discipline of canoeing, in this specific discipline, the only American to win gold. And I got to meet him at an event a year ago, and I actually got to canoe with him. It was a pretty cool experience, and we got to like paddle together and all that stuff. And he told me, and he said, Paul, he's like, direction is more important than action, because he's like, you can take all the action, but if you don't know where you're going, it's like you'll never get to where you want to go. And what was so interesting was I actually got to kind of experience it, because when he was on Impossible Equals Impossible, that was what he said. That was like the big takeaway that everybody had.
Yeah.
And he said that the water and the river specifically was like his greatest teacher, because he's like, what you're going to find is, we're going to be paddling. And when we went out, it was easy. But then when we had to go against the current, because we knew where we were going, even though like it didn't look like anything was happening, because you're moving and all this different stuff, we ended up getting back to where we wanted to go faster, because we had clear direction. So I think
Wow.
that's what it is for a lot of people. And also, like, the thing that I wanted to say too about the whole podcasting thing, because the reason why I created Impossible Equals Impossible was because I was burnt out of like earning my way to the stage, of like having to I was reading this comment, which is,
Sorry, I just picked up a Lonica. Thanks for joining in. But I wanted to make sure you got your comments on the screen here.
no, yeah, I love that, what she
Yeah,
said. But going
conflict
back to the
relationships.
whole podcasting thing, because when I get people that ask me to like why they wanted to be on Impossible Equals Impossible, I would always ask them like, what why do you want to be on the show, and how does like your message like connect to what I'm trying to do? And going back to the whole blindsiding thing, I haven't ever had that happen, because I always have a conversation with the guests like prior, and I don't like, I never script any of my shows, but I wanted to kind of like get to know the sense, because like it's like what Dr. Whiskey said, like a lot of these people who pay coaches and stuff, this is the type of stuff that they teach you. That's why like I never really got so caught up in the numbers and the vanity, because a lot of the top 1% of people, they pay to get there. It's just like books and the statuses and all that type of stuff. Like a lot of it is money driven, and you don't know that until you are kind of in that environment, and you understand kind of how it all works. But that's where I always like to say, like, you can you can't like I can see through lies and stuff, when people are on video, like you can tell if the things that they're saying are like genuine or all that type of stuff. And it's interesting how so many people, they want to be on stage, but it's like you have to have a message that makes sense and is worth sharing. Because looking back, like there's so many shows where I'm like, oh my gosh, like why did I go on that show? Like that was like that there made no sense. Like, but I wanted to speak. And a lot of times I remember like my mentor telling me, she said, Paul, she's like, it's not about raising your voice as a speaker, it's about raising your impact, you know. And so many people, like, they speak so loud. And the first couple events that I went to, I was kind of like very intimidated, one because I had never like spoken before, but most of these people were very like religious, and they were kind of like talking at you versus, you know, with you and that type of thing. And that's what I learned a lot of times, is that people actually lose a lot of people because they're like speaking at them versus with them and incorporating them into the conversation. And I think to do that effectively, one of the things that I've always been cautious of, and Steve, I know you and I had conversations about this, is so many people like want to just monetize their audience like right away. You know, as soon as they build it, it's like, oh, I'm going to use it, I'm going to monetize. But like, you have to really care about your audience. I've been so fortunate that out of all the collaborations and stuff that I've done, not one person has like come to me and said, oh, you know, this person that you introduced us to or that you had on your show like did us wrong, or, you know, all that type of stuff. And you see that so often. And I said, if I got any inkling, I wouldn't have done that collaboration, because I care about the people that I've built. And it goes back to that, you know, the only number that I care about is one type of thing.
Well, something you said about it really applies to business, into the dating conversation. You talked about being upfront. Here's why a lot of people aren't upfront. So you look at my online dating history, right? If I just post, this is gonna sound so bad. If I just post pictures of myself, it's fine, right? The more thorough my bio got, the fewer people swipe, right? Because when you, especially in my generation, like the word God, like I just lost like 75% of my matches. If you say anything like, if you pick politically one side or the other, or you say this or that, like when you're more upfront, right, it narrows it down. And a lot of people don't care about the quality of the match. They want the quantity, like you're saying. Same with some podcast hosts. They say, I don't care who comes on my show. I just want to have an episode every single day. I really don't care who the guest is. Same with some people just want to be on as many shows as possible rather than the quality of the show. And I think it's all about filling those numbers rather than the quality. And I get it, because I've worked with like a lot of men in some of the religious youth groups I'm a part of. You know, they're like, hey, when I became a godly man, like I went from being able to get dates all the time to now I can't find a single woman. I said, well, look at it. The target market of ungodly women or women who aren't aligned with the faith, if you just wanted to be in a relationship with them, it's huge. If you're looking for a very specific a woman who follows God and is even more so follows a specific denomination, your target market, so to speak, is significantly smaller. So even if you feel like you're living a better life, and now a lot of them feel like they're being punished. They're like, hey, now that I'm doing the right thing, I'm not getting this relationship that I'm promised, you know? So it's an interesting dynamic. And I think to Paul's point about being paid to the top, what I found out through the podcasting and writing space is so many of these bestsellers, these best-selling authors, all they do is the day their book launches, they have a launch party where those people all buy the book at the same time, and it shoots it to the top of the Amazon list. They purposely time it so they have the least competition in their field. And I realized like a lot of these number one best-selling authors, I mean, I don't want to say they're frauds, but you know, they just kind of did a pay to play, like Paul said. I mean, look at like some of the guys that I was really impressed with online, who I've mentioned in the past, found out they were taking steroids. Like there's a lot of pay to play for that stuff. You know, some of these guys online who have all these model girlfriends or these hot girlfriends or vice versa. I mean, we don't even know if that's real. You know, all these rappers with their paid actresses.
It's the
highlight reel.
Yeah, it's the outcome at any cost, and sometimes the cost isn't the outcome that you're trying to get.
You and I just talked about this, Steve, about what you value is the input more than the output.
Yes, you focus on what you're doing as opposed to what you're getting, because and I love the phrase direction is greater than action, or more important than action, because again in that analogy or the metaphor of canoeing, if you've got things against you, you've got to be very focused about where you're going, even if you've got to take different action or even harder action because you're fighting currents and so on. So the direction is very important. And even if you look like you're going in the wrong direction, the environment is going to point you where you need to go to get back home. Um, so yeah, and then you know, taking a shortcut to get somewhere, um, either through sort of non-productive or nefarious methods, or short shortcutting yourself, compromising connections, relationships for the outcome, means that you're not thinking about the inputs. You're not thinking about the journey. You're not thinking about who you would want to become, and you're
It's
so
not long
short.
term thinking either. Like we mentioned, long term thinking either, because ultimately, if you settle for someone that you're not fully attracted to or not fully aligned with, it's really just going to cause more problems long term. And I love with the canoeing analogy. Someone on my LinkedIn had posted something similar. It was like you can go out for a run or you could jog on a treadmill, but only one of them is getting you from point A to B or something. It was like if you're trying to run somewhere but you end up just jogging in place, you're doing all the action but you're not actually going.
Going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good
You look
there's some good
productive.
sorry, I'm gonna clear my throat here. There's some good life lessons there. And then raising your impact, not just your voice. Again, that's a great mantra to
You
think
and I
about.
talked about that with a lot of military leaders. They think the louder they talk or the more they curse, that they have more effective teaching rather than actually like sitting down and having a conversation with you. And I told you that was one of the things I didn't like. I've worked with some police officers on my show who said, "Hey, we're already in such a stressful field. We don't need you adding on top of it for no reason." Like whether it was their sheriff or sergeant, whoever it was, like we're supposed to be working together in this stressful environment, and yelling at each other doesn't do any good. We need to have these conversations. We need to be prepared. And I think a lot of parents talk at you rather than with you. That's Justin. The episode him and I did was that a lot of people they tell you the faith, they don't teach you the faith, right?
Yeah.
So like for example, my childhood, and maybe y'all can relate to this. I wasn't told like, hey, here's why we pray, here's why we do it, here's the benefits of it. I was just told we're praying. Like it was just always commanded. That's why a lot of people have church hurt. They just go to church as a
Church
routine.
hurt.
They just read as a routine. They weren't taught the beauty of it and the power of it.
Mm.
And that goes for everywhere in life. People are being told, hey, you need to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and not be single. They're not being taught and talked with like, hey, you need to get in a relationship because here's why. Here are the right reasons why, and here's this. And it goes back to Paul. I mean, in the very beginning was talking about the timing, and I feel like
Divine timing.
this ties to you and I. You and I talked about breaking free of the calendar. So many people had this idea, you need to do everything by the end of this year. What do you say? Gates' law was people
Underestimate.
overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade.
Yeah.
I think it applies to dating as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's so beautiful. This has been a great discourse. Well, we're at hour 20 in, so I'm gonna call time. Justin, thanks for jumping in. I know you had to jump off. Something came up, I guess. So, thanks for coming in, Lonica. Thanks for your input as well, in the chat there. And I know I can't even sum it up. It's been good to go around and get a richness in terms of the wisdom and insight across various ages and various lifestyles and life journeys. And congratulations, Dr. Whiskey, again on I'm gonna put up
Now, no, it's
Monica's.
congratulations. You're making it sound like you guys would have never believed this.
I just share,
I feel like a
share
backhanded
Lonica's-
congratulations to you.
we cannot afford to adjust ourselves with other standards or compare our lives. So we don't have the full picture. That's so true. And some of the worst decisions I've ever made were
Yeah,
those pushed by
society.
society's shoulds. Yeah, we should on ourselves. That's a common phrase there. Best ones I made for myself when I made where others thought they made no sense. And that's again, that's something that Paul touched on. The first relationship, the primary relationship has got to be with ourselves. And that's not selfish, that's self-full. And if you're self-full, then you can serve and feed and encourage and enrich others by being self-full.
But don't be full of yourself.
Well, yeah, I say in the sense that it's an opposite to selfish. Being
Yeah.
full of yourself has different connotations because then you push out people. But thank you again, Lonica. This has been great. Come again, join us. The virtual water cooler live is around for every Wednesday, 4:30 UK time. I know we're coming into the fall season, so I know it's going to change. It's going to change for.
Not if they make me president. Steve, I told you we're getting rid of daylight savings time.
So it might change a little bit for in a few weeks when we're upside, when we're all over the
There we go.
all over the place. Yeah, just got it all moved up. But Paul, thank you so much. Dr. Whiskey, always a pleasure. Doctor in India. That's a definite story in itself. And again, thanks Justin for jumping in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Alrighty. Thanks to you.
Alright.
Good to
Thanks,
see you,
people.
Dr.
Take
Whiskey.
care,
With
buddy.
like 4 bites
Have
of
a-
a cherry, Steve.
4 bites
Have
of
a
the
great
cherry.
one, yeah.
Yep, I'll be filling you in the 12-week progress.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll see you in Jamaica soon, Steve.
That's Christmas. Take care, guys.
Bye.